Imagine standing in a supermarket line, realizing you've forgotten your wallet and your phone is dead. But instead of panic, you feel a sense of calm as you simply wave your bare hand over a glowing sensor. The transaction is instantaneous, the convenience is intoxicating, and for a brief moment, you feel like you are living in the future. But what you don't realize is that this single gesture has just signaled the end of your status as a free human being. This is not just a leap in payment technology, it is the final stone being laid in the foundation of the Biometric Trap, a shadowy financial architecture designed to turn your physical body into the world's ultimate bank account. For centuries, money was a tool outside of the self, something you held in your hand, but the new global elite have realized that paper and digital digits are too easy to lose or hide, and to achieve absolute control, the currency must become inseparable from the flesh. We are currently witnessing a silent pivot where the global financial system is moving away from tracking what you have to tracking who you are at a molecular level. The architects of this great reset understand that the current debt-based economy is on the verge of a total systemic collapse, and in the ruins of the old world, they are building a ledger where your DNA, your heartbeat, and your emotional responses serve as the collateral. When you link your biology to the financial grid, you are no longer just a consumer, you are becoming a biological asset whose value is determined by an algorithm that monitors your health, your lifestyle, and your obedience. This is the dark evolution of the subscription economy, where you don't just rent your house or your car, but you effectively rent your right to exist within the modern world by providing a constant stream of biometric data to the central servers. The introduction of central bank digital currencies, or CBDCs, is the missing piece of this puzzle, creating a form of programmable money that only functions when authenticated by your unique biological signature. Imagine a world where your money has an expiration date or geographical limits, where your digital wallet automatically freezes if your biometric sensors detect you've consumed too much of a restricted resource, or if your social credit score falls below a certain threshold. In this nightmare scenario, there is no off the grid because your body is the grid, and every breath you take is a data point being harvested by corporations to predict your future behavior and financial risk. The convenience of a palm scan is the bait, but the hook is a total loss of autonomy, where the state can effectively turn you off from society with a single keystroke if you cease to be a compliant part of the machine. Throughout financial history, every major crisis has been used as a pretext to tighten the grip of surveillance, and the transition to a cashless, biometric society is the final boss of this long-term strategy. They tell you it's about security, about stopping fraud, and about making life easier, but the reality is that biometrics are the only passwords that can never be changed once they are stolen or compromised. By surrendering your biological data to the banking cloud, you are handing over the keys to your very identity to institutions that have proven time and again that they do not have your best interests at heart. This is the ultimate liquidation of privacy, where the most intimate details of your physical existence are tokenized and traded on shadow markets by insurers, lenders, and government agencies looking to optimize their control over the masses. The rise of 15-minute cities and geo-fenced economic zones is perfectly timed with the rollout of biometric payments, creating a digital cage with no visible bars. If your hand only works at the scanners within your designated zone, you are effectively a prisoner of your own convenience, unable to travel or trade without the explicit permission of the central algorithm. This is surveillance capitalism, taken to its absolute extreme, where the distinction between a citizen and a product has completely vanished, and the elites view the human population as nothing more than biological hardware to be managed and harvested. The dark irony is that we are building this prison ourselves, one face unlock and one fingerprint scan at a time, seduced by the promise of a frictionless life, while ignoring the friction that freedom requires to survive. In this new era, your health data will become your credit score, and your genetic predispositions will determine your interest rates, creating a form of biological discrimination that no law will be able to stop because it will be buried deep within the proprietary code of the banks. If the sensors in your smart home or your wearable devices detect a rise in cortisol or a change in your gait, the system might decide you are a high-stress risk and preemptively limit your access to credit or increase your insurance premiums. This is the end of the individual as we know it. We are being reduced to a series of biological metrics that can be manipulated to ensure maximum productivity and minimum dissent. The elites dream of a transhumanist economy where the human mind and body are fully integrated into the financial grid, making rebellion not just difficult but biologically impossible. We must understand that when the state and the banks ask for your DNA or your biometrics to fix the economy, they are actually asking for the power to reprogram human nature itself. By making survival dependent on a digital link to your physical self, they are stripping away the last vestige of human dignity, the right to be anonymous, the right to be private, and the right to be more than just a number on a ledger. This biometric trap is the culmination of a centuries-old plan to perfect the art of governance by turning the governed into a transparent, predictable, and totally controlled workforce. The gold standard is gone, the fiat standard is dying, and the biological standard is being born in the shadows of our convenience-obsessed culture. The most terrifying aspect of this transition is how voluntarily it is being accepted by a population that has been conditioned to value speed over sovereignty. We have been trained to fear germs, fear crime, and fear complexity, and the biometric trap is marketed as the solution to all three, a perfect shield against the chaos of the world. But a shield that you cannot put down is not a tool, it is a weight that eventually crushes you. And the biometric grid is a weight that will be carried by our children and their children as they are born into a world where their first breath is a registered transaction. We are moving toward a final default of the human soul, where the debts of the past are paid for by the total surrender of the future's biological freedom. As the old financial systems buckle under the weight of $300 trillion in global debt, the elites are desperate to find a new way to keep the game going, and your body is the only asset left that hasn't been fully exploited. They are looking to tokenize humanity, turning every person into a walking security that can be leveraged, shorted, or liquidated based on the needs of the central planners. This is why the push for digital IDs and biometric mandates is happening simultaneously across every continent. It is a coordinated global harvest of the human biological signature. To them, you are not a person with rights. You are a data-producing organism that needs to be synchronized with the new digital global order. We are standing at the threshold of a dark age, where the light of liberty is being replaced by the blue light of a scanner, and the social contract is being replaced by a biological contract that you can never tear up. The history of finance is the history of control, and the biometric trap is the most efficient form of control ever devised because it operates at the level of instinct and necessity. If you cannot buy food or pay rent without a scan, you will scan, and in that moment of submission, you will have completed the transition from a citizen of a nation to a ward of the global financial state. The prison without walls is almost complete, and the doors are being locked not with keys, but with the very codes that make up your unique existence. This is the dark reality that the mainstream historians and economists refuse to discuss because they are either too blind to see it or too invested in its success to speak out. The chill financial historian might tell you how countries got rich, but the dark financial historian tells you how the concept of wealth is being used to enslave you in ways that would make the pharaohs of Egypt envious. We are entering a period of economic occultism, where the true levers of power are hidden behind layers of high-tech jargon and humanitarian slogans, all while the basic rights of humanity are being auctioned off to the highest bidder in the cloud. The trap is not just coming, it is already here, embedded in the devices in our pockets and the screens in our homes, waiting for the final command to go live. In the future, the unbanked will not be the poor, they will be the unscanned, the outcasts who refuse to trade their biological essence for a digital pittance. These will be the only truly free people left, but they will be forced to live on the fringes of a society that views them as biological hazards or walking security risks. The middle class is being systematically pushed into the trap through the subscriptionification of life, where owning nothing means you must constantly authenticate your identity just to keep the lights on. This is the ultimate wealth transfer, not just of money, but of the very power to be a self-determining agent in the world, transferred from the individual to the algorithm. The convergence of AI, biometrics, and CBDCs represents a perfect storm of authoritarianism that has no historical parallel, making the totalitarian regimes of the 20th century look amateurish by comparison. Those regimes needed secret police and physical torture to maintain order, but the new regime only needs a censor and a database to ensure that everyone follows the rules. This is soft totalitarianism that feels like a warm embrace until you try to pull away and realize that your entire life is tethered to a digital umbilical cord that can be severed at any moment. It is the realization of the Matrix, not as a simulation, but as a financial reality where humans are the batteries powering a system that has no room for their humanity. We must recognize that the push for convenience is the primary weapon of our age, used to disarm our critical thinking and our natural instinct for self-preservation. Every time we choose the easier path, we are unknowingly handing over a piece of our sovereignty to an invisible master who values efficiency above all else. The biometric trap is the logical conclusion of a society that has forgotten that the most valuable things in life, privacy, freedom, and human connection, are inherently inconvenient and messy. By attempting to digitize and optimize every aspect of our lives, we are accidentally erasing the very things that make us human, leaving behind only a biological husk that can be easily managed by the state. The dark finance of the future is not about interest rates or stock markets. It is about human management on a planetary scale, where the central banks act as the supreme governors of the human herd. They are building a world where your value is constantly being recalculated in real time based on your carbon footprint, your health markers, and your social interactions, all fed through the biometric sensors that you voluntarily wear. This is the ultimate audit of the soul, where no thought is private and no action is without a financial consequence, turning the world into a giant open-air counting house. The tragedy is that we are being sold this world as a utopia of safety and inclusion, when it is actually a dystopia of total and absolute surveillance. As we move closer to 2030 and beyond, the pressure to join the grid will become overwhelming, as traditional cash is demonized as dirty or criminal, and those who resist are branded as Luddites or conspiracy theorists. But the real conspiracy is the one happening in plain sight, in the white papers of central banks and the marketing materials of big tech companies that openly discuss the Internet of Bodies. They openly discuss the Internet of Bodies. They tell you exactly what they intend to do. They want to synchronize your biology with the global economy to ensure stability, but they never mention that stability for the system means the total stagnation of the individual. This is a zero-sum game where the system's gain is your fundamental loss of self. The history of the world is a history of the struggle for liberty, but we are the first generation to face a threat that is literal, physical, and internal, a threat that seeks to occupy the very space within our skin. The biometric trap is a biological Trojan horse that we have invited into our homes and our bodies, and once the doors are closed, there may be no way to reopen them. We must look past the glowing screens and the easy payments to see the dark machinery that is being built underneath. A machinery that views a human being as nothing more than a profitable data stream. The question is no longer whether the technology exists, but whether we have the moral courage to say no to the convenience it offers. If we do not stand up now, the very concept of the people will become obsolete, replaced by a user base that is managed by a centralized AI according to the whims of a financial elite. This is the great leveling, where everyone is equally enslaved by a digital code that knows no borders, no laws, and no mercy. The dark historian knows that every empire eventually collapses, but a biometric empire could last for 1,000 years because it eliminates the possibility of the secret meeting, the private thought, and the anonymous protest. It is the end of history because it is the end of the human capacity to act outside of the system's awareness. Next time you are asked to scan your face, your eye, or your hand to access your own money, take a long, hard look at that sensor and realize what it truly represents. It is not a tool of progress, it is a digital collar, and the hand that holds the leash is one that you will never see. The debt harvest is coming, and your biometrics are the scythe that will be used to cut you down and process you into the new global ledger. In the world of dark finance, there is no such thing as a free lunch, and there is no such thing as a free scan. You are paying for that convenience with the only thing you truly own, your life. Remember, the greatest lie ever told was not that money isn't real, but that you are your data. And once you believe that lie, the biometric trap has already won. The only way to win is to remain inconvenient, to remain human, and to guard your biological signature with the same ferocity that a king would guard his crown. We are at the final hour of the old world, and as the lights of the biometric grid turn on one by one, we must decide if we are going to be the masters of our technology or the subjects of its cold digital heart. The future is being written in your DNA. Make sure you are the one holding the pen.